Hi beloved, the video you are about to watch will truly touch your heart and may even bring you to tears. What this dear sister shared is not just a story, it's a powerful experience that reminds us of God's love, mercy, and the reality of His presence in our lives. Please don't skip this video, because every moment carries a message that will help you understand what she went through and how God moved in her situation. As you watch, I ask that you open your heart and let the Holy Spirit speak to you through her testimony. When you're done watching, please take a moment to say a prayer for her and her family in your personal prayer time and also in the comments section, so she knows she's not alone. Let's continue to lift one another up in love and faith, especially in these times when so many are struggling and searching for hope. And please, beloved, comment where you are watching from, so we can pray for you and your family by name. May God bless you richly as you watch, and may His peace fill your heart. My name is Fatima, and I want to tell you my story. I grew up in a small town in Pakistan where everyone knew everyone else. Life was simple back then. I went to school, helped my mother cook, and played with my sisters in the dusty courtyard of our home. Everything changed when I turned 16. That was the year my older brother Rashid died. He was killed in a bomb blast at a marketplace. The news said it was done by people from a different religious group. I remember my mother's screams that day. I remember how my father sat silent for hours, staring at nothing. The pain in our house was so thick you could almost touch it. After Rashid died, I became angry. Very, very angry. I stopped smiling. I stopped playing with my sisters. All I could think about was revenge. I wanted someone to pay for taking my brother away from us. When I was 17, some women from our neighborhood invited me to their meetings. They met in a small room behind one of their houses. At first, they seemed kind. They gave me tea and listened when I talked about Rashid. They told me they understood my pain because they had lost people too. But slowly, the meetings changed. The women started talking about how we needed to fight back. They said people from other religions were our enemies. They said it was our duty to punish them. I listened to everything they said. Their words fed the anger burning inside me. The leader of the group was a woman named Khadija. She was older than the rest of us, maybe in her 40s. She had fierce eyes and spoke with so much passion. She told us stories about how our people were suffering. She said we needed to be strong and brave. She said God wanted us to fight. I believed her. I believed everything she said because the pain of losing Rashid made me want to believe. The group became my new family. They understood my anger in a way my real family didn't. Single quotes, T. My mother noticed I was different. She would watch me with worried eyes when I came home late from the meetings. She asked me where I was going. But I lied to her. I told her I was studying with friends. The lies came easily because I felt like I was doing something important. When I turned 18, Khadija gave me my first real task. She asked me to help plan an attack on a Christian school in the next town. My job was simple. I needed to watch the school for a few days and report back about the best time to strike. My hands shook when she told me, but I agreed. I thought about Rashid and how this would somehow make his death mean something. I went to that school 3 times. I sat across the street and watched children go in and out. They looked so normal. They laughed and played just like my sisters did. Some of them reminded me of kids I used to play with when I was younger. But I pushed those thoughts away. Khadija had told us not to see them as children. She said they were the enemy. On my 3rd day watching the school, something happened that I still remember clearly. A little girl dropped her books as she was leaving. Papers flew everywhere in the wind. Other children stopped to help her pick them up. They were laughing together as they chased the papers. One boy gave her his pencil case because hers had broken. I watched them help each other. And for a moment, my heart felt strange. These children were being kind to each other. They didn't look like enemies. They looked like friends. That night, I gave my report to Khadija. I told her the best time to attack was in the morning when the children were arriving. She smiled at me and said I had done well, but I couldn't sleep that night. I kept seeing that little girl and her friends helping her. The attack was planned for the following week. I was supposed to be there to help set things up, but as the day got closer, I felt more and more uncomfortable. My stomach hurt all the time. I couldn't eat properly. My mother asked if I was sick, and maybe I was. Sick with doubt. 2 days before the attack, I had a dream. In the dream, I saw Rashid. He was standing in a bright light, and he looked peaceful. He looked at me with sad eyes and shook his head. He didn't say anything, but I understood. He didn't want this. He didn't want me to hurt innocent children because of what happened to him. I woke up crying. It was still dark outside. I sat on my bed and thought about everything. I thought about the little girl with the books. I thought about Rashid. I thought about what I was about to do. For the first time in 2 years, I really looked at myself. What had I become? I had joined a group that wanted to kill children. Children who had done nothing wrong. Children who just wanted to learn and play with their friends. How would killing them bring Rashid back? How would it make anything better? I didn't go to the attack. When the day came, I stayed in my room. I told my mother I was very sick, which wasn't really a lie. I was sick in my heart. I heard later that the attack didn't happen anyway because the police found out about it. 2 women from our group were arrested. Khadijah was angry with me. She came to my house and told me I had betrayed the group. She said I was weak. She said I would regret my cowardice. Her words scared me, but they also made me realize something. I didn't want to be part of this anymore. I didn't want to live with hate. But leaving wasn't easy. The women in the group knew where I lived. They knew my family. I was afraid they would hurt us. I was also afraid of being alone. For 2 years, these women had been my world. Without them, who would I be? I started avoiding the meetings. I made excuses. I said I was sick or busy helping my mother. Khadijah sent other women to check on me. They would show up at my door with suspicious looks. My mother grew more worried. She knew something was wrong, but I couldn't tell her the truth. One day, I was at the market buying vegetables when I saw someone I recognized. It was a teacher from the Christian school I had watched. She was shopping too, looking at tomatoes at the next stall. My heart started beating fast. Did she know who I was? Had she seen me watching the school? I tried to leave quickly, but I dropped my bag. Vegetables rolled everywhere. Before I could pick them up, the teacher was there helping me. She smiled at me as she handed me a potato. She asked if I was okay. Her kindness made me want to cry. I thanked her and hurried away, but that small moment stayed with me. This woman I had once thought of as an enemy had helped me without knowing who I was or what I had almost done. She had been kind simply because that's who she was. That night, I prayed for the first time in months. Not the angry prayers I had been saying, but a real prayer. I asked God to show me the truth. I asked Him to help me understand what was right. I cried as I prayed, and something in my heart began to soften. The next few weeks were difficult. Khadijah and the women kept pressuring me to come back to the group. They said they had new plans. They said I was needed, but I kept refusing. The more I stayed away from them, the clearer my mind became. I started reading more. I found books about peace and forgiveness. I read stories about people who had lost loved ones but chose not to seek revenge. These stories amazed me. How could people be so strong? How could they choose love over hate? One story that touched me deeply was about a mother whose son was killed in a terrorist attack. Instead of seeking revenge, she started a school for children from all backgrounds. She said education and understanding were the only way to stop the cycle of violence. She said her son would have wanted her to build something good from the tragedy. I thought about this woman a lot. Could I be like her? Could I take the pain of losing Rashid and turn it into something good instead of something destructive? Around this time, I met Amina. She was a few years older than me and worked at the local library. I had gone there to return some books, and we started talking. She noticed I was reading books about peace and forgiveness. She told me she had her own story. Amina revealed to me that she had once been part of a radical group too. She had believed all the same things I believed, but she left when she realized the group was using religion as an excuse for violence. She said real faith should bring peace, not destruction. We became friends. Amina was the first person I could talk to honestly about everything. I told her about the group, about the planned attack on the school, about my guilt. She listened without judging me. She said she understood because she had been there too. Amina introduced me to other women who had left radical groups. We would meet at her house and talk. Some of them had done terrible things before they changed, but they had all found a way to move forward. They showed me that change was possible. These women became my new support system. They understood my fears about Khadijah and the group. They helped me stay strong when the pressure to return became intense. They reminded me why I had left in the first place. But the threats got worse. One day, I found a note slipped under our door. It said that traitors would be punished. It said I had brought shame to everyone who knew me. My hands shook as I read it. I knew it was from Khadijah or someone in the group. My mother found me crying with the note in my hand. I couldn't hide the truth anymore. I told her everything. About joining the group, about the planned attack, about why I had been so angry and distant for 2 years. I told her about the threats. My mother was shocked and hurt. She cried and asked me how I could have kept such things from her. But then she held me tight and said we would face this together. She said Rashid would never have wanted me to hurt others in his name. Her words made me cry even harder, but they also gave me comfort. My father was harder to convince. When he learned what I had been involved in, he was furious. He shouted at me about bringing danger to our family. He said I had dishonored Rashid's memory by joining such people. His anger scared me, but I knew I deserved it. For several days, my father barely spoke to me, but slowly, with my mother's help, he began to understand. He realized I had been a confused, grief-stricken teenager when I joined the group. He saw that I was trying to change. One evening, he sat beside me and put his hand on my shoulder. He told me that leaving the group was the bravest thing I had ever done. With my family's support and my new friends' help, I decided to leave our town. It was too dangerous to stay. Khadija knew where we lived, and I feared she would do something to my family because of me. Amina had connections with an organization that helped people leave extremist groups. They arranged for me to move to a different city where I could start fresh. Leaving home was one of the hardest things I ever did. I had to say goodbye to my sisters, to the house where Rashid and I grew up, to everything familiar. But I knew it was necessary. My family would be safer if I wasn't there to provoke Khadija and her group. I moved to Lahore, a much bigger city than my hometown. The organization gave me a small room in a safe house with other women who were rebuilding their lives. Some had left abusive marriages. Others, like me, had left extremist groups. We were all trying to heal from our pasts. In Lahore, I started working at a women's shelter. My job was to help women who had nowhere else to go. I cooked meals, cleaned, and listened to their stories. Many of them had suffered terrible things. Listening to them made me realize how much pain there was in the world. It also made me grateful for the chance to help ease that pain, even in small ways. Working at the shelter changed me. I saw women of different religions and backgrounds all helping each other. Christian women helped Muslim women. Hindu women helped everyone. Nobody cared about differences. They only cared about kindness and survival. One woman at the shelter became special to me. Her name was Sarah, and she was a Christian. She had fled from her village after her husband died, and his family tried to force her to marry his brother. She arrived at the shelter scared and alone. I helped Sarah settle in. We shared a room for a while, and we would talk late into the night. She told me about her faith and how it gave her strength. She explained that her religion taught her to forgive those who hurt her. This amazed me. After everything she had been through, she could still talk about forgiveness. Sarah asked me about my story, and slowly, I told her everything. I told her about Rashid, about joining the group, about the planned attack on the Christian school. I was afraid she would hate me when she learned the truth. But Sarah surprised me. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and said she forgave me. She said everyone makes mistakes, especially when they're hurting. She said the important thing was that I had chosen to change. Her forgiveness was like medicine to my wounded heart. Through Sarah, I learned more about her faith. She invited me to church with her one Sunday. I was nervous about going, but I went because she asked. The church was small and simple. The people were warm and welcoming. They didn't know my past, but they treated me like family. The pastor spoke about love and forgiveness. He talked about how God loves everyone, no matter what they've done. He said that God's love is so big that it can cover any sin. His words touched something deep inside me. Could God really forgive me for what I had almost done? Could He love someone like me? After the service, I talked to the pastor. I asked him if God could forgive someone who had planned to hurt children. He looked at me with kind eyes and said that God's forgiveness has no limits. He said all I needed to do was ask and truly change my heart. That day marked another turning point in my life. I began to understand that faith should not be about hate and violence. True faith should be about love, mercy, and helping others. The group I had joined had twisted religion to serve their angry purposes. But real faith was what I saw in Sarah, in the pastor, and in the women at the shelter who cared for each other. I continued working at the shelter and grew stronger every day. I started taking classes to finish my education, which I had abandoned when I joined the group. I wanted to build a real future for myself, not one based on anger and revenge. But the past had a way of finding me. One day, about a year after I moved to Lahore, I received a phone call. It was Khadija. She had somehow found my number. Her voice was cold as she spoke. She told me that I was a traitor and that traitors must pay. She said she knew where I was and that I should watch my back. I was terrified. I reported the call to the organization that had helped me. They took the threat seriously and moved me to a different safe house. They also reported Khadija to the police. I learned later that she and several other women from the group were arrested for planning another attack. Knowing that Khadija was in prison should have made me feel safer, but it didn't entirely. I knew there were others in the group who might come after me. I had to be careful. For months, I looked over my shoulder wherever I went. I was afraid of shadows and sudden noises. During this fearful time, Sarah stayed by my side. She prayed with me when I was scared. She reminded me that I was not alone. She helped me see that living in constant fear was no way to live. She encouraged me to trust that I would be protected. Slowly, the fear began to ease. No one else from the group came after me. Life at the shelter continued. I kept working, kept studying, kept growing. I made friends with more women there. Each one had a story of survival and courage. Being around them inspired me. 2 years after leaving my hometown, I did something brave. I decided to speak publicly about my experience. The organization I worked with asked if I would share my story to help other young people avoid the path I had taken. At first, I was terrified. What if people judged me? What if speaking out put me in more danger? But I knew my story could help someone. Maybe there was a girl out there, angry and hurt like I had been, who needed to hear that there was another way. Maybe my words could stop someone from making the mistakes I made. I gave my first talk at a small community center. My hands shook as I stood in front of about 30 people. I told them about losing Rashid, about joining the group, about almost participating in an attack on children. I told them about the moment I realized I was wrong and how hard it was to leave. I told them about finding forgiveness and starting over. When I finished, the room was quiet. Then people started clapping. Several young women came up to me afterward with tears in their eyes. They thanked me for my honesty. One girl told me she had been thinking about joining a similar group, but my story changed her mind. That moment made all my fear worthwhile. I continued speaking at schools, community centers, and women's groups. Each time got a little easier. I learned to own my story, both the dark parts and the hopeful parts. I learned that being honest about my mistakes could help others avoid the same path. Through my speaking work, I met many people who had been affected by terrorism. I met families who had lost loved ones. I met survivors of attacks. Some of them were angry when they first heard that I had been part of a radical group. But when I shared my full story and they saw my genuine remorse, many of them were able to forgive me. One meeting stands out in my memory. A man named David approached me after one of my talks. He revealed to me that his daughter had been at the Christian school I had watched years ago. She was the little girl who dropped her books. He had recognized me from my description. My heart stopped when he told me this. I couldn't breathe. I had come so close to being part of something that would have hurt his daughter. I started crying and apologizing. I told him how sorry I was, how ashamed I felt. David looked at me for a long moment. Then he did something I will never forget. He hugged me. He said he could see that I was different now. He said his faith taught him to forgive and that he forgave me. His forgiveness broke something open inside me. I cried in his arms, like a child. David and I stayed in touch after that. He and his wife invited me to their home for dinner. I met his daughter, who was now a teenager. Being with their family showed me what I could have destroyed, but it also showed me the incredible power of forgiveness. Now, at 25, I work full-time helping other young women who are at risk of joining extremist groups. I counsel them, share my story with them, and show them that anger and grief don't have to lead to violence. I teach them that strength comes from choosing peace, not revenge. I also work with families who have lost someone to terrorism. I help them process their anger and grief in healthy ways. This work is hard because it reminds me of my own pain over losing Rashid, but it's also healing. Every person I help is a way of honoring my brother's memory in a way that brings life. Instead of death, my relationship with my family has slowly healed. My mother visits me in Lahore sometimes. She's proud of the work I do now. She tells me that Rashid would be proud too. My father takes longer to come around, but we talk on the phone regularly now. My sisters write me letters telling me about their lives. I think about Rashid often. I wonder what kind of man he would have become if he had lived. I think he would have been kind and gentle, nothing like the angry path I walked in his name. The pain of losing him will always be with me, but it no longer controls me. I've learned to carry it differently. Sarah is still my closest friend. She got married last year to a good man who treats her well. I was in her wedding, which was one of the happiest days of my life. She asks me all the time when I'm going to get married, but I'm not ready yet. I'm still healing, still growing. Maybe someday. The journey from that angry 17-year-old girl to who I am now has been long and difficult. There are still hard days when the guilt weighs heavy on me. I think about the pain I caused my family. I think about the children I almost hurt. These thoughts can still make me cry. But I also see how far I've come. I see the lives I've touched through my work. I see the young women who chose peace instead of violence because of my story. I see the families who have found healing through forgiveness. These things give me hope. I learned that hate is easy but love is brave. It's easy to be angry when you're hurt. It's easy to want revenge. But it takes real courage to choose forgiveness, to choose peace, to choose love. That courage doesn't come all at once. It comes in small moments, in daily choices, in continuing to move forward even when it's hard. My story is not over. I'm still learning, still growing, still healing. But I know now that my life has purpose. The pain I went through, the mistakes I made, they can all be used to help others. That's what gives my life meaning now. To anyone reading this who is struggling with anger, or grief, or the desire for revenge, I want you to know this: there is another way. The hate might feel powerful, but it will destroy you from the inside. Real strength comes from choosing to heal, from choosing to love, from choosing to build instead of destroy. Your pain is real and valid. I understand it because I've felt it. But don't let that pain turn you into someone you're not. Don't let it steal your future. There are people who can help you, who understand what you're going through, who can show you a better path. It's never too late to change. I was deep in darkness, planning to hurt innocent children, but I found my way out. If I can change, anyone can. It starts with one choice, one moment of courage, one step toward the light. This is my story. It's a story of loss and hate, but also of redemption and hope. It's a story that shows how love is stronger than hate, how forgiveness is more powerful than revenge, and how it's never too late to choose a better path. I share it in the hope that it helps someone, somewhere, make a different choice than I almost made. I share it to honor Rashid's memory in the right way, and I share it because staying silent about what I learned would be a waste of the second chance I've been given. The road ahead is still long, but I walk it with hope now instead of hate, and that makes all the difference.